Books Don't Mix with Water, a Percabeth alternate universe fanfiction, Part 7. Annabeth smiled awkwardly at the excited and mischievous boy in the seat next to her. They had been in the tower for, say, 10 minutes, but it was feeling like forever, with all the questions being thrown at her. There was a lot of questions. Why were there so many questions? Oh, come on. You should tell us something juicy, Leo whined. Annabeth bit her lip, not sure what to say to save herself from the situation. It was very uncomfortable. Normally, she would have snapped back, but right now she was kind of really nervous, getting all interrogated. Like, seriously. Bro, why are you interrogating me? Leo, cut it out, Jason scolded for like the 8th time in the past 2 minutes. Annabeth sent him another thankful look, and he nodded back at her, but then turned back to facing the large window that looked out on the ocean and watched a surfer almost wipe out on a rough wave. Ouch. Not good at a surfing competition. Leo gave an annoyed sigh, but finally stopped hounding Annabeth. So, I hear you and Percy met at the library, Grover said during the uncomfortable silence of just crowd murmurs and the sound of crashing waves. Leo's eyes widened at hearing that, and his mouth was agape in an O shape. Annabeth gave an awkward chuckle. Yeah, I kind of yelled at him for spilling water all over my books, she admitted. That prompted Grover to throw his head back in laughter. Really? Jason inquired, an amused smile on his face too. Annabeth nodded, not sure she should be proud or ashamed. The blond boy bobbed his head up and down slowly, a solemn look on his face and eyes closed. I should have done that the day I met him. God, you're smart, Jason sighed, tiredly reminiscing the day the two boys met. That was the day of many wacky adventures that were absolutely stupid. That boy that he had met, kind of dumb. Very good friend, but dumb. That made Grover and Annabeth laugh in unison. Percy certainly deserves to be yelled at certain times. Actually, like, all the time, Grover added. That's when Annabeth decided that she liked these two a little bit more than the other, since Leo kind of still freaked her out with the non-stop examinations. Like, dude, don't worry about it. I'm not a criminal. I don't really have anything to hide. Well, like, I don't need you to know everything, but like, it's not like you need to examine me because I'm a killer. Like, bro, chill. I have to say, I'm glad he's made a friend of the opposite gender. He usually tries to avoid y'all at all costs, but I guess he thinks you're special, Leo said nonchalantly, but with a smirk. Annabeth's cheeks began to turn a light pink, and she could feel its new heat, even in the already hot and humid tower. She began to mumble incomprehensive words while looking down and rubbing the back of her neck. Special? No, she was not special. Special implied like everyone looked to her because she was special. Yeah, Annabeth fit more into the weird category, but like obviously that's not the same as being special. Weird does not mean special. That's some basic English right there. Jason smacked Leo up the head and hissed a low sentence at him that Leo obviously didn't take super heavily and just stuck his tongue out like a young child. Throughout the rest of the competition, Annabeth, Grover, and Jason had polite conversation, mostly them explaining surfing to her since she was in no way an expert. It was nice to chat with them and not be in a huge crowd of people in the sand. Leo was still strange, nice, but strange, so she stayed a bit farther away from him, leaning towards Grover, who noticed and gave her an understanding look that said, I'm sorry for him. I don't know why he's like this. None of us know why he's like this. Another hour passed, and it was time to round up all the scores. The surfers were all out of the water, and the judges went to their own little tower to converse. Apparently, today was only the first heat of the King of the Waters competition. There were so many heats in a surfing competition. Why were there so many heats? They were so long. It was more than clear that this certain curly-haired blondie was clueless about surfing. She was not a surfer. At all. Bro, that last wave was epic. You have got to at least score like an 8. Leo bounced up and down as soon as the green-eyed boy trekked his way into the tower. Still soaking wet and dripping seawater, that is. He grinned and whipped off the pristine white towel. Wait, how was it still white? But he ripped it off his shoulders and wiped his face, wiping off the drops of water and sweat, and then throwing it into a basket to probably be cleaned later. Good job out there, Annabeth said brightly. She really didn't fit in with Leo's excited lingo and knowledge of what the heck had happened out there. In Annabeth's mind, standing up on a surfboard for more than 1 second was impressive enough, so actually riding the waves and doing tricks was kind of insane. But apparently it was possible. Who knew? Thanks, wise girl. Percy smiled back. A look passed through Jason and Grover's eyes, which were unreadable, yet Annabeth Chase expertly noticed them. What note did they pass through just then? After a few minutes, Annabeth knew that she should be heading home. So, like the gentleman he claimed to be, Percy escorted her down the tower and towards her car, and of course his band of buddies joined in too. You can cut out the Prince Act, you know that, right? Annabeth laughed, her eyebrows perched high. Percy pretended to open the gate down for her, bowing his head and claiming her to be his highness. As amusing as that was to watch for her and the other boys, what was even better to watch was his struggle to open the said gate. Oh, my royal highness, how could I ever force you, of all people, nay, princesses, to open an unsanitary gate? No, I must Wow, I never thought I'd live to see this day. A voice cut in. Annabeth whipped her head towards it, and a large, goofy grin became etched on her face. Luke! She called out. Luke gave her a smirk and nodded at Jason. Who managed to get Annabeth Chase to the beach? The only time I've ever seen a feat like this accomplished was a year ago, when Piper and Hazel hounded her in her room for 2 entire days, before getting her to go to the pool, just to sit by the deck and read. But, they ended up straitjacketing her and threw her into the ocean. Luke snickered. Annabeth crossed her arms, annoyed that he had just spilled that story that, she didn't want too many people to know, especially not a certain black-haired boy, because he was certain to make fun of her for that, but apparently now he knew. Thanks a lot, Luke. She could remember those days crystal clear. Let's go to the beach, they said. You can read, they said. Just wear a suit in case, but you don't have to go into the water, they said. But no, she was thrown into the freezing waves, and then they were dead meat, because she started chasing them, screaming at them that they were dead meat. Leo pointed to Percy with a hyper expression and smirk on his face. This crazy guy. Luke looked over at Percy, who looked more sheepish than proud. Luke brushed his bright blonde locks back and clicked in what she would guess was admiration. How? He asked. Percy bit his lip and took a small step back. I just asked her if she wanted to come, to my competition. Percy choked out. Luke nodded his head, looking over at Percy. Percy was tall. He's 5'11", going on 6 foot, give or take. But Luke, that boy was tall. 6'4", a freaking giant who had no problem intimidating her new friends. He hummed, making the other boys nervous, whether or not they wanted to show it. Well, all of them except for Jason, at least. He just gave a polite nod to Luke and, like, big surprise. They were in the same social circle after all, like, you know, two popular blonde guys. All that. That's rather impressive, Percy. Well, anything with not tying her down and throwing her into the water is impressive, but having her go via her own free will? That's wild. Luke smiled, although it came out more as a smirk. Luke was not a smiley person. He, like, smirked, obviously, and was the captain of the soccer team that, like, everyone knew. You know, like, that guy. He was that guy, through and through. Thanks, Percy smiled, rubbing the back of his head and sneaking a glance at Annabeth, who was, you know, behind Luke. Annie, you should probably be headed home, Luke said, turning towards her. Thank God he didn't say, like, back to the bookstore, because that doesn't sound like a home, to most people at least. She nodded, already planning to go there in the first place, hence why she was out of the tower. Yeah, I know, she waved off, starting to tread to her car. Hey, do you still want the ice cream? Percy called out to her. Annabeth shook her head with a smile. No, believe it or not, I wasn't in for the ice cream, but thanks for offering it, though. She saw Luke give Percy a raised eyebrow, and Leo nudged Percy with a grin. Oh, do you want me to drop some off at your house if you still... Annabeth shook her head rapidly. No, it's fine. Thanks though, she said quickly. Even Luke was giving her a look. She nodded back at them, and with a wave, she walked quickly to her car. New friend, Dan? Luke asked when he caught up to her. She was already in the driver's seat. Yeah, she responded. Luke gave her an amused smile, to which she sighed too and rolled her eyes at. Not like that, you idiot, she snapped. Luke raised his arms in surrender. I know. But yet he gave her that wink that said, I don't believe you. Annabeth sighed and rolled up her window, turning the engine back on. Luke stepped away and just waved as she drove off, which too she smiled at. Dang it, Annabeth said, feeling her cheeks growing warmer than ever before. She really should not have a crush on Luke.